Hi, welcome to Mamas and Mannies. I'm your host, Trina. This is a short form podcast for mamas that are looking for a quick burst of me time. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button and share this with another mama that is looking for a quick burst of me time. As always, before we get started with the episode, we are going to go over a motivational quote, our mantra. This week's quote is thoughts and feelings have power that can help or hurt you. Again, that is thoughts and feelings have power that can help and hurt you. So just remember that when you're waking up, you're starting your week. Today is Monday, or when you're going through your week, just depending on what day you're actually listening to the podcast. Remember that your thoughts and feelings have power to either harm or help you. But guess what time it is? It's mama time. This week's mama time is going to be about Hurricane Helen, which came almost 2 weeks ago here in Metro Atlanta, just depending on where you live at in the metropolitan area. Some people got flooding. We got winds. Mostly everyone in the metropolitan area got winds. We didn't really have any trees down. We didn't lose power, thankfully. But I know in some areas, like Buckhead, for example, they had flooding. I can't remember the other areas, but there was flooding, of course, high winds, trees and limbs knocked down. And the Chattahoochee got really high. Thankfully, it wasn't any major flooding from the river. It was more flooding on, I would probably say, from backed up drainage. So that was here in Metro Atlanta. One thing I do want to talk about, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but I am from Augusta, Georgia. That's home of the Augusta Nationals, where they have the Masters every year for golf. Tiger Woods won. And several other people won, of course, but I just love to always say Tiger Woods won. But my city, Augusta, Georgia, my hometown, actually got hit really hard. Now people should be good without power, or with power, water, and internet. Some people may still be struggling in the surrounding areas of Augusta. But the storm came through on Friday. I can't remember the date. And it was a lot of high winds, a whole bunch of trees knocked down, a lot of traffic lights knocked down. They had to turn the water off in some areas just because it wasn't getting filtered well. A lot of people lost power. My parents lost power. Thankfully, my parents never lost access to water. But one thing, my mom went out of town, I think 2 days before Helene came through. So she was actually gone, but she was low on gasoline or fuel for her car. Of course, most stores were closed. Her job was closed. She works at a daycare. That was closed for like a week without power. They had to get rid of a lot of food that was in the refrigerator and the freezers due to lack of power at her daycare. Thankfully, they weren't without power for too long because they don't have power with Georgia Power. They have it with another electric company that's offered in Augusta. But a lot of friends were without power for several days, 5 days or more, just depending on where you lived at. Like I said, a lot of down trees, power lines. It was a lot going on. I actually just looked, of course, I'm filming this on a Wednesday before the episode comes out. Vice President Kamala Harris came out with John Ossoff to deliver meals. So it was really hit hard in Augusta. So I just wanted to bring that up because it is a smaller city compared to Metro Atlanta. It's not a absolutely small city, but it is a smaller city. And sometimes it doesn't get enough acknowledgement as metropolitan Atlanta does here in the state of Georgia. So I did just want to bring that up. But I saw this on Facebook some of these posts that go around is just saying she grew up in Florida. So just a few tips that she wanted to give out with hurricane preparedness. This is not really a mama time. I think this is more of it's better to be prepared just in case. So she was saying these are a few things that they do before the storm actually comes. So she was saying the day before the storm, what they do. And again, this is a post about a lady that said she was born and raised in Florida, so they are used to a lot of hurricanes and other tropical type storms. The day before a hurricane or a major storm, fill up your gas tank or any type of tank. Like if you have generators, chainsaws, four-wheelers, tractors, of course, cars, fill those up with a few gas cans, maybe 1 or 2 5-gallon tanks, so you'll have a little fuel or gasoline. She also suggested to fill some gallon freezer bags with water and freeze them, which I thought this was a really good idea. She said you can use these as cold packs when the refrigerator goes out. So they're already cold. Fill up your bathtubs with water. Just like I mentioned, you never know if the water is going to be off for an extended period of time. That way you'll have clean water to actually use in your toilets. Fill propane tanks if you have the need for that, and invest in an additional tank, like an extra tank. Everyone take a shower and wash your hair. She said it may sound crazy, but if you're without power, especially if your house is full electric, you may not have hot water for several days. In our case, we have, and of course, electricity, but we have a gas stovetop as well as a gas hot water heater. So when our power goes out, it does not go out as much as it used to, but when our power goes out, at least we can cook food on the stovetop, and we can also take a hot shower. So if you're in our case where you have electric and gas, you can go that route. But if you have full electric, you definitely want to try to take a shower to get a hot bath. A few days before the storm, start eating any leftovers. Don't store any more food. That way you don't lose a lot of food. That's one thing about losing electricity. Store ice bags from your ice maker. Oh, this was another good idea. So if you have an ice maker, go ahead and turn your ice maker on and then put ice in bags. That way you'll have fresh, clean ice. If you need that, you can use that for coolers. If you want to use it for water, if it's really hot. Get cash out of the bank, because a lot of times when the power goes out, we forget this because we use cards so often. You're not able to use a card because those terminals are actually ran off of electricity. So you're going to need cash. If you could do like $50 to $100 in cash, that way, and in smaller bills like 1s, 5s, and 10s, so you'll be able to pay for basic things. Wash all your laundry, towels, so you'll have clean clothes. Get a minimum of a 14-day supply of any regular medications that you use. Make sure you feed your animals, or you get the feed if you have like outside animals, or even if you just have like a dog and a cat, regular domesticated animals, get food for them also. Secure any outdoor objects. So I like to do that as well, just making sure the kids' toys are picked up. Or if we have something large, make sure it's tied down. Make sure there's nothing that can be flying around loose. We probably need to do a better job of that here at my home. But that way, that stuff is not knocking up against your windows or the side of your house. Let's see what else we got. Get non-perishable frozen foods. So this is a few weeks before, or a few days before. That way you'll have food like canned goods. You'll have food that you can cook on the grill. If you're completely without electricity, at least you'll have some foods to cook. Because of course, frozen foods will stay cold for a few days. And I think they said the refrigerator, this is if you keep the refrigerator closed, the refrigerator door closed, it can stay cold for like 24 to 48 hours. Restock on batteries. any games, coloring books, and reading materials. That way you'll have something to do, especially for your little ones. And let's see, invest in a few camping supplies like battery powered fans, especially the beginning of hurricane season is basically the summertime, early fall. A coffee percolator, outdoor shower. Make sure if you can use lanterns, because they're a little bit better than candles, especially in your home, because candles will heat up the home. Once the hurricane, or even like now, where we're after Helene and we're in between hurricanes turning from tropical storms to hurricanes, trim your trees. Remove any dead trees and limbs from around your home. Make sure you check with your insurance company. Do you have flood insurance? Do you have the needed insurance that you need to cover your home if something does happen? Of course, after the storm, stay home as much as possible. Again, in Augusta, they have a curfew from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. where no one can go outside. That's really for your safety, as well as if there are a lot of power lines down, you can't see those. Make sure you have games, books, any type of fun activity that you can think of. And this also will help conserve the gasoline that you put into your vehicle. And remember, if the traffic light is down, use it as a four-way stop. Generator safety, she had a link for this, but one of the biggest things with generators, they are gas or powered by something else that is dangerous to have in the home. So you want to make sure you're using a generator outside. If you have a generator that gives off any type of dangerous fumes, you want to make sure that's being used outside. And me and my husband, we've said this so many times, we need to get a generator. They do have affordable generators. Right now is probably the most expensive time to buy a generator because we're right in the middle of hurricane season. But on the off seasons, if you want to look into that, or even if you have like a little charging bank that goes off batteries or something that you can charge up in advance, we actually have one. Just something that will actually hold a charge for your phones and other small electronics. That way you'll have access to that. So continue to keep the victims and the bypassers of Hurricane Helene and any other hurricanes. Hopefully that's the biggest one we have for the season. Keep those people in your prayers and your thoughts. If you're able to do something, do that. If you can take in a family or a friend, if they are without power, water, electricity, that's power, but water, electricity, even internet. That's one other thing that went down in Augusta. Be willing to take those people in or ask them, what can I do to help? Just remember that, just like, you would want someone to do the same thing for you. So these were just a few tips that I wanted to go over for hurricane preparedness. And remember that me time is essential and it is never selfish. Have a great week, Mama. Stay safe.